Three new statewide officials were sworn into office this week. Diego Morales, the new Secretary of State, Tara Klutz, the Auditor, and Daniel Elliott, the new State Treasurer. The three Republicans were elected to statewide office this past November. Of course, Monday also marked the start of this year's legislative session, both parties unveiling their agendas for the year ahead. And as the session begins, a new push for legalizing marijuana. Several groups holding a rally at the State House this past week, with more and more lawmakers now considering the possibility of supporting some sort of move toward legalization, at least in some aspects. We'll see how that plays out as the session goes along. All right, let's bring in our panel right now. With us here today in studio, we have former party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, and 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, along with UIndy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson, and Politico's Adam Wren, author of the Importantville newsletter on Indiana politics. All right, let's start here at the state level. Laura, the governor hasn't wanted to touch some of those hot button issues, whether it be marijuana or other controversial issues that could come up this year. His State of the State, as expected, focused mainly on the budget and Indiana schools.
I think it was exactly what you'd predict. If you created a bingo card of what you thought Eric Holcomb would address, education, economic development,
there were
healthcare,
sports metaphors.
There were a couple dad jokes, which I really appreciate. I mean, it had everything, but you're right, not touching the controversial topics. And I think that's actually pretty true to his administration, too. There are 9 bills, I think, involving marijuana at some capacity. Obviously, abortion is a question we'll hear from the judicial branch
This coming week. Yeah,
exactly. So I think the governor was wise in not touching those issues.
Tony, what did you make of the governor's State of the State address, and can he win over Republican lawmakers who maybe aren't sure about the price tag on some of the governor's agenda items for the coming year?
Yeah, a lot of money, a lot of spending, a lot of increase in spending from the last budget. But, you know, we do have, the state is fiscally sound and revenues have increased. So you can make the case. It was a speech and his agenda is one that you really can't argue with much in there. You wouldn't want to, certainly politically. The fiscal leaders on the Republican side, I think, will look at each bucket of where money needs to be spent and see what, you know, is the prudent, fiscally prudent thing to do.
And Robin, what's your view on the governor's speech, and how does your party get involved in the conversation this session with Republicans still holding a supermajority there at the State House?
20 years ago, we called for free textbooks. It's taken 20 years of Republican rule for them to finally realize that our kids deserve free textbooks. We're behind on infant mortality. It's taken 20 years of Republican rule to start addressing that issue. They're coming around talking about the issues that we talked about 20 years ago that they've neglected, and finally saying we have to address them. He finally did that.
Meantime, Adam, as the governor sets the tone for his final 2 years in office, it seems just about everybody else in Indiana politics is either jockeying for his job or for this open Senate seat, with Mike Braun now running for governor. Pretty interesting to see an attack ad already up on the air from the Club for Growth going after former Governor Mitch Daniels this week.
Yeah, what's interesting is Mitch Daniels brought David McIntosh, who's the president of the Club for Growth Action, back to Indiana to work at the Hudson Institute. You know, David McIntosh wanted to be governor in 2000 and ran for the 5th District in 2012. So he's not done with his interest in Indiana elections. But I was fascinated by them really kind of showing their cards and saying that we think Mitch Daniels is going to be a difficult candidate to beat in a Republican primary. And I think with this ad buy, they're showing that.
Donald Trump Jr. also piling on that messaging in a tweet Friday, calling Mitch Daniels a rhino in his view. All right, we got to talk about the news from Washington this week as well. The DOJ naming a special counsel to investigate the documents found in President Biden's possession. Democrats say this simply isn't as serious as the accusations President Trump is facing, because there aren't as many documents, because they're cooperating with the DOJ to return those documents. Tony, how do you see this?
It's a scandal. It's a major scandal. I think it's going to grow into even a bigger to-do, and I think it's probably going to derail his ambition for a second term, which shouldn't even, you know, be a thing, because his agenda and his accomplishments are nil, and his faults are many, and his approval ratings are terrible. But the difference here is that he was vice president, so he did not have the ability to declassify anything like President Trump did. These are scattered among 3 different locations, at least 3, at the Penn Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania, in his garage by his Corvette, and in a closet. So there's probably still going to find more. And then this is over a number of years, not just recent, like what was found in Mar-a-Lago right after the president left office. But he was out of office in 2017, so 6 years.
Robin, your response to that, is this going to be a political problem for the president as he considers re-election? Things had been going fairly well for the White House through the midterms.
As entrenched as people are, I think it will be to those that want to make it an issue, but they didn't have to go to the president and say turn him over repeatedly. He acknowledged that he has them. He's cooperating fully. And we have a Democratic Attorney General that went ahead and appointed somebody, a special investigator, to go in and take a look at it. I think the president will be okay on this. We're cooperating.
All right, let's get an academic, journalistic perspective on this as well. Laura, I'll come to you next here. Obviously, this is going to be another situation in politics that people may kind of perceive differently from different sides of the aisle. Another Rorschach test for the American citizen.
I think it absolutely is. And it's hard to imagine people will look at this in this unbiased, politically neutral perspective of whether or not you think one person should be investigated and the other person should not. If you look in terms of issues of accountability and being transparent, both of these situations involving the current and former president are of concern. And we're talking about classified documents. This isn't somebody's chicken pot pie recipe. These are serious government documents that shouldn't be just lying around.
Adam, where do you see this headed next?
Democrats I talk to think that this effectively takes President Trump's issue off the table for Democrats as one that they can prosecute ahead of 2024. It essentially neutralizes it. But you know, the old rule, if you're explaining, you're losing. You know, if you're explaining how Biden's taking of these classified documents is different than Trump's, you know, that's a complicated, murky case to make to the average American voter sitting in a diner. So I think it's a difficult situation for the president.
Robin, is that a case the White House can make? And also, as they look at this situation here moving forward and looking back here at the last couple weeks, are there ways the White House could have been more transparent about the situation?
I'm sure everybody could look back and say we could have done something better. And the president, this president, is at least willing to admit that he could have done things a little bit differently. But we're going to respond. We're going to cooperate. We'll see where this goes. I do agree with Adam that if you're doing explaining, then you're already behind the 8 ball. So hopefully he'll resolve this pretty quickly and get ahead of it.
Tony, any impact here, do you think, on President Trump's campaign? He's announced a campaign. Some people wondering, you know, will he actually run for office? Will he not? Do you think this gives him some momentum here?
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus that, you know, you can't prosecute Trump if you're not going to prosecute Biden, and I doubt that this DOJ is going to prosecute Biden. So it helps in that respect. I think, you know, there's still plenty of time before the 2024 election gets into full swing. And so I think Donald Trump still has the ability to, you know, he's kind of starting from scratch, but I don't think that's going to hurt him. I think his base is still there, and he's just got to grow it like he did before.
And is Mike Pence still going to run? We're still waiting to find out.
Yeah, he said this week that the only thing that he's decided for sure is that he's not going to let somebody else, like a Ron DeSantis, for example, make his decision for him.
Okay, we'll see what happens. A lot going on, no doubt. Up next, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg reacts to the FAA outage that led to a ground stop at America's airports this past week. You'll hear what he's saying about that straight ahead.